too pure for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted, but does some...
Hello, welcome back to Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy and I'm showing you how to cook another easy romantic meal to start off your date night at home. Tonight's romantic meal is influenced by the flavors of the Alsace region of France, a place where German and French foods meet. So I'll be showing you how to make pork cutlets with an apple reduction, braised Brussels sprouts, and scalloped sweet potatoes. So the very first thing that I'm going to be doing is making the bechamel sauce to scallop the sweet potatoes with. I'm going to begin by adding about a tablespoon of butter to a pan here, and I'm going to melt it. And once it is all melted, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple tablespoons of flour. Using a wooden spoon and medium heat, stir it, and you're going to cook it. And now you're making roux. The magic of the roux happens because you're cooking the flour as it's soaking up the oils from the butter. So after about 2 to 5 minutes, you should start to smell the roux smell a little bit like popcorn, and its color should remain about unchanged. At that point, take it off the heat and let the pan cool before you add the milk into it. So while I'm waiting for the roux to cool, I'm going to pop back over here and begin layering my sliced sweet potatoes into a nice little casserole pan. And I'm going to layer them just so that each particular slice gets nice exposure to the bechamel sauce. That should do the trick right there. So I'm just going to leave those there for a moment and pop back over here and work on the sauce. Begin by very slowly drizzling in a little tiny bit of milk at a time. Kind of temper it in. Once you have a nice foundation of milk in there, you can go ahead and dump the rest of it in there. Return it to the heat and find yourself a whisk and whisk it together. You'll just want to whisk it together until all the lumps of roux have dissolved into it. At this point, you'll want to add your seasonings of salt, pepper. I recommend using white pepper if you have it. Just a little tiny bit of that. A touch of freshly grated nutmeg. And a little tiny bit of cayenne pepper. Continue whisking. Once you've got everything all mixed in there, you don't have to whisk it all the time, but you want to whisk it regularly while it comes up to a boil, then drop it down to a simmer for about 5 minutes. So it's boiling, dropping it down to a simmer now, and I'm going to put a lid on it and let it simmer. Well, this looks great. It's coating the back of my spoon. Tastes really good too, so that means it's ready to pour over the sweet potatoes. I'm going to drizzle this over the top. Now, if you're building layers of sweet potatoes, you're going to want to make sure that you pour your bechamel sauce over each and every layer. I like to do it the easy way and just do one layer. You'll want to make sure that you save enough of the sauce to pour over the Brussels sprouts too, because we're going to put a little love in that. Great. Now this bechamel sauce is really pretty rich, especially if you use whole milk like I do. But it tastes really good with just a little tiny bit of cheese on top. So go ahead and decorate the top with just a little bit of cheese. I'm using Swiss cheese, and put it in the oven. Let it bake for about 45 minutes. All right, and then this is the last thing that you're going to do with this bechamel sauce. Is take some more of the Swiss cheese, drop it right in the sauce, and whisk it all together. You want to do this when it's nice and hot and fresh. Now this sauce is going to be the crowning glory of your Brussels sprouts. You may find that as the cheese melts into the sauce, it gets a little bit too thick to pour. And you can easily remedy that by adding a little bit more milk. Give it a little taste because it's going to be really good. Sauce isn't for kiddies. All right, so that's good. You can put a lid on it and hold it off the heat for a few moments, and we can move on to the Brussels sprouts. So begin by warming up olive oil in your hot saute pan. To that, add about a clove of garlic, cut however you like it. Just give the garlic about a 30-second head start. Great. Add the Brussels sprouts. Toss those too. Sprinkle them with salt and pepper. And a little bit of parsley. Once you see the colors start to turn, then you can add the wine. Add a couple ounces of red wine. You want to bring that up to a boil. Get a happy little bubble on that. That's great. You can go ahead and put a lid on that. Let that simmer for about 20 minutes. So now it's time to bread the cutlets. You're very close to having your easy romantic dinner ready to go. Begin by mixing a little love into the breadcrumbs. I usually like to buy the panko breadcrumbs and season them myself. So that was a little seasoning salt and a little fresh cracked pepper. I'm just going to mix it up together. Give it a little taste here. Should taste quite salty because the meat is only going to have a thin little layer of coating on it. Next part is to coat your pork chops with a little bit of olive oil. And remember that you can substitute any sort of thin cut lean meat for the pork in this dish for an equally delicious result. Do make sure that each little cutlet has a nice coating of olive oil on it. It's really key to getting the crisp brown result that's going to taste so good. And as I bread them, I'm going to be dropping them in a hot saute pan with a little olive oil in it. When you hear a nice happy sizzle like that, that means that you've got the temperature just right. Working on the last two here. I find that about 3 little cutlets each is just the perfect amount. Fills you up, doesn't weigh you down. There we go. You see that I've got about a 1/4 inch of olive oil in the pan. That's so that I get a nice crisp, even result. And while these cook, I'm going to come back over here and slice up some apples. See, what you're going to do is turn these apples into a delicious little sauce, and you're going to do it after the pork chops have cooked. So you want to cut off nice thin slices here because you're going to need the apple to cook very quickly so that your chop doesn't get cold. Oops. Cut it until you find the core. Once you found the core, you're good to go. Right, these are ready for the saute pan once the little cutlets are done. Now I'm going to flip the little cutlets. Beautiful. What you want to see is a nice golden brown result that flips easily. One right there. Just a couple more minutes and these will be ready to go as well. All right, looks like these are done, so I'm going to go ahead and pull them out of the pan. them right on the plate. You're gonna wanna work quickly at this point because you don't want those little thin cutlets to cool down too much. Great, pour off most of the oil into a heat-resistant dish. You don't need all that fat to make your reduction. To that, add the apples and the minced onion. On a nice high heat, saute that. This is gonna taste really, really good. The tartness of the apples against the crispness of the chops. When you start to see the onions and the apples soften up a bit and turn a little bit translucent, that's when you're going to want to add about 1 ounce of white wine. And about a tablespoon of cider vinegar. A little sprinkling of sugar to taste. A little parsley and salt and pepper. Allow just a moment to blend everything together and for the wine and the cider to cook off just a little bit. Taste it as you go to make sure that you've got enough sweetness in there. Amazing. The reduction is done. Take it off the heat and go to the oven and pull out your sweet potatoes. Oh, now don't these look delicious? Look at how brown and delicious those are on top. So now you're going to want to put some of this on the plate. Those came out beautifully. Scalloped sweet potatoes are fun because they're a little bit different than your run-of-the-mill scalloped potato. The sweetness of the potato and the milk combine together to create a lovely creamy result. Right. Top that off with your apple reduction. Use a slotted spoon so that you just get most of the apples. Pile them on top of the cutlets. And the last thing you need to add is the Brussels sprouts. Again, using a slotted spoon, scoop them out of the pan. Nestle them in next to the cutlets. So you might want to rewarm your cheese sauce just a little bit. Pour that just over the Brussels sprouts. Yummy. One more romantic dinner ready to go on the table. It's so exciting when it comes together and it looks this good. Good meal like that will definitely warm your sweetie's heart and love will grow with each bite. Remember, it all starts with you feeling good and thinking of your sweetie as you're cooking each and every little piece. So pair this with a nice Gewürztraminer or a Riesling and call on your sweetie. Don't eat this anymore. Honey!
Here I am.
Hi, darling.
Hi. This looks delicious. Cheesy Brussels sprouts. Yummy.
Ah, crispy chops.
melt in your mouth. This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun with your romantic evening, and I'll see you next week. Night-night.
Oh baby, you're too pure, you're too pure.